how there is both the level of, first of all, there's the idea of Shem Elakim, which is a big pella, that brachas should have to do with Shem Elakim. Seemingly, Shem Elakim is not something that has to do with brachas. It should be something that is associated, is usually associated with the midah of gevura and tzimtzum, etc., etc. So why do we say the brachas that Yitzchak gave to Yaakov, originally what his thought was to Esau, was with this idea of Shem Elakim, and we also showed the comparison that when Yitzchak was first benched by Hashem after Avraham Avinu, it was also with the name Elakim, and we explained that though they share this common denominator of both of them being Shem Elakim, that this Shem Elakim shows on actually a very powerful brachas that Yaakov was going to get, and because of that he was willing to go against his nature, that he was a sincere person, and to do matters that were seemingly mirma and trickery and so on, because of these very high brachas of Shem Elakim. And then the Rebbe started explaining that it's even more so the different, in other words, even though we brought a common denominator that both Hashem benched Yitzchak on Avram's passing with the name Elakim, and Yitzchak benched Yaakov with the name Elakim, it's still the Shem Elakim of Yitzchak's bracha was much higher than the bracha of that he received, or else there would have been no reason for him to give that bracha. It would have been just a continuation, as we explained, that the brachas would have been transmitted automatically. What Hashem gave Yitzchak would have been automatically transferred and transmitted to his children. From the fact that he gave a bracha that was exceptional and different and unique in these very high levels of lights, was because it was something more than the bracha that he received even from Hashem upon Avram's passing. We started explaining that the reason why he wanted to draw down this very high level was because he felt that with this level he'll be able to refine Esau, and by bringing down this great light, this itself would bring a beer of Esau. That was a mistake. It wouldn't have worked. It needs to go through Yaakov, who's able to administer it in the correct dosages, if you will, so that Esau should be able to come to Zbarer. But if it would have come directly from Yitzchak to Esau, either the light would have been lost or it would have shattered him. And now the Maimer is going to speak about what is this level of the powerful lights that are in the Shem Elakim, that's associated with V'yitin L'cha Elakim, that through them these powerful great lights would have the capability to refine the sparks, and they do, except they have to be administered through Yaakov in the appropriate dosage. But still, it's the bracha of Shem Elakim and this powerful revelation that is responsible for elevating the sparks. So again, in Ois Hey in the Maimer, be able to understand this level of the highlights, that through them the sparks are refined and are able to become refined, and therefore Yitzchak thought he'd be able to do it directly, but in the end it had to go through Yaakov. Will be understood according to what's explained over there in Torah Oir, and the above mentioned Mamorim that speak about the topic of the brachas and what really was going on over there, and what was the story behind it. So he says, Shaklippus him b'mispri yud alf, that klippus are associated and are made up of the number 11. The Begdusha mispar eser, in holiness it's the level of the number of 10. Eser v'loy teisha, eser v'loy chado. So as we know, the Sefer Yetzirah says it's 10 and not 9, and 10 and not 11 spheres. In other words, specific to the number 10. It's not just, okay, there's 10 spheres and could have been something else. It's specifically 10. As opposed to klippus, there's 11 crowns of tum. And we'll soon explain the significance why that is so. And because in klipput there's 11 crowns of tumah, That's also why the Ketores was made up of 11 spices, which is, if you think about it, it's unique, if not strange, because all matters in Kedusha that are associated with that particular number are usually in the number 10. There's different numbers in Kedusha. There's a number 3, there's number 4, there's 7. Rare occasions, Milad, there's the Hanukkah, there's 8, and then there's number 10. 11 is not usually something that's associated with Kedusha. And yet, the holiest thing in the holiest place, the Ketores that was brought on Yom Kippur and the Kodesh Kadoshim, and even the Ketores that was brought daily in the Mizbeach Hazav, is also not something to be sneezed at, pardon the pun, but it was the number 11. Why were there 11 spices to make up the Ketores? So the Chassidus explains, to be able to refine the 11 crowns of Tumah. So to be able to deal and overcome the 11 crowns of Tumah, you need to have the 11 spices of the Ketores. The Ketores was such a high revelation and such a powerful type of thing that was able to deal with the 11 levels of Klippa. Now he's going to explain what's the association of 11 with Klippa. The reason why Sitra Achre, the other side, is specifically in the number 11, because in Klippas we also enumerate the life and vitality that gives vitality to the rest of the 10. The 10 shows on a number of completion and perfection. That completion has something else in Klippa, the vitality. And Kedusha doesn't have vitality, so he says just the opposite. The vitality is not counted separately. The Kedusha, Achai Sholas Spheres, in holiness, the life force and vitality of the 10 spheres, and so too, not just the 10 spheres, but any holy matter, the vitality in Kedusha and that holy matter that it gives vitality to is the same. All matters in Kedusha is in the number 10, so the vitality and the energy in it is not called number 11. In Kedusha, so the vitality and energy comes down internalized and becomes joined in one with those other 10 items in the world of Kedusha. Therefore, it's not counted separately. We don't come up with the number 11. We stay, it's all 10, because the vitality is part of the 10. As opposed to the other side with Klippa, the vitality and life force from Kedusha is separate and distinct from the Klippa that it gives life to. How come? Why couldn't it become joined with it? If it would have come internalized into the Klippa, so then it would have lost its divine capabilities to vitalize them and would have been completely absorbed in them. It sounds similar. I'm not sure if he's saying exactly the same thing, but it sounds similar to what we said before about Yitzchak's mistake in wanting to give the brachas to Esav, thinking that by giving the brachas to Esav, he would be mevarer Esav, but instead, any energy that he would have brought down to Esav would have become absorbed and swallowed up in Esav. In a similar vein, the chayas of Kedusha that gives a vitality to Klippa, to the Eser Klippas, or the Eser, the number 10 in Klippa, needs to stand apart. Therefore, it's counted separately, and you don't have 10 spheres in Klippa, you have 11. Now, the Rebbe is going to bring down a very interesting thing. Even though we just now said that Klippa, the Chayes has to stand separately, and Kedusha, the Chayes is part of it, but you cannot have that Kedusha will be lacking an 11th level because of it. If there's 11 in Klippa, Kedusha has to have its own level that's akin to number 11. But it's going to be in a different way. It's going to be completely removed, completely above, not like in Klippa, where it is separate, where in Klippa it's separate but connected and counted together. In Kedusha, we're going to explain that it is both separate and, that it is both corresponding to number 11 in Klippa, but on the other hand, it's completely separate, and therefore you can't say number 11 in Kedusha. Let's see it inside. Again, second paragraph, the Sitra Achra is the opposite side, the corresponding level of holiness. The Mezeh, moving from this, understood. Just like in Klippa, there is the number 11 that's separate from the 10. Yesh gam b'kedusha l'umazeh. In Kedusha, there is the opposite of that. L'umazeh is not a negative thing. It means the corresponding opposite level. Sheyesh n'madrega shalamayla ma'asasfiras muvdalas mahem. There's a level that's beyond the 10 spheres and separated from them. But like we said before, in Klippa, it's part of the entire number, and it's called 11. In Kedusha, not. He says in the brackets, El Shebekdusha, Bechinazu Eina Chai Shalasa Sfiras. By Kedusha, this level, which is corresponding to the 11th level in Klippa, is not like in Klippa, where the 11th level is the highest of the 10. In Kedusha, this other level is not the highest of the 10 spheres. Why? Because as we said before, the highest shalas spheres mislabish b'soichum misachlim moim kanal. Because the highest of the 10 spheres doesn't have a problem in Kedusha to become joined with it, so it's not counted separately. And the transcendent level that's beyond the 10 spheres is something on its own, and it's not connected, it's not part of the 10 spheres, not even in a way that can be called number 11. He continues after the brackets, therefore it's not counted along with the 10 spheres, that we can say 10 and 1 is 11, no. But rather, as we say in Paschal Yom, we're going to say this evening, this afternoon, you are one, but you're not in the cheshbon of the 10 spheres. You're not counted in the rest of the spheres. You're not number 11. As opposed to the other side. Their transcendent level is their vitality, is the source where they get their life from. You need to also include the makif in their number, in their count. Not like in Kedusha, where the chayis becomes one with them. In Klippa, where the chayis does not become one with them, their entire chayis comes from the makif. So without the makif, without the transcendent level, without level number 11, they're not alive. Therefore, you have to call it the number 11, because that is part and parcel of the rest of the 10. So therefore, once we've established that in Kedusha there is a corresponding level to that 11th level in Klippa, we can understand what is the level that's responsible for refining it. After the second set of the second set of brackets, Valpiza moving according to this is understood. Shabiru the Yud Aleph Kisrin Misav was the refinement of the 11 crowns of Klippa. How do you counter that 11 levels, especially number 11, which gives them life and vitality? It's by drawing down this makif, the transcendent level that's beyond us, that by Kedusha it's not counted with them, which level is the antuchad v'loy b'chushban, the one that's not counted, the level that transcends completely. That's b'chinas atik, that's the pnimius of Keser. Dugma, that is comparable to the China Hayiralf Sheb Sitra Achra Shimuvdals Mem Kanal, the 11th level in Sitra Achra that's separated from the other 10. Now we can understand what exactly was the bracha of Yitzchak. It was referring to this level of the makif of Kedusha, Atik, the one that's not in the count. That's why it says the Elekim will give you from the dew of heaven. The inyan harishon shebirchas Yitzchak hutal. The first thing of the bracha of Yitzchak is dew, which is tala da'atika. We know dew is associated in Zoyar. The Torah brings down the dew of the level of Atik. Since we said before that Atik Yoimin is something that's the corresponding level in Kedusha that needs to counter the number 11 of Klippa. So the same way, dew, Tal HaShamayim, which comes from Atik, represents that level. How does one refine the sparks of Esav, which was the purpose of Yitzchak's brachas? Why the Amshachas b'chinas Atik Hanal? It's through drawing down this level of Atik, like we said before. Oizvav. Now the Rebbe is going to add a point that he always emphasizes. Atik on its own has no reason to come down here. Atik is perfectly happy being higher and removed and transcendent. Antu chad v'loy b'chushba. You need to bring something greater to bear and to like force Atik to come down. So he says, "Noizvav in b'chdesh tiyam shachas Atik lamata." To be able to cause that Atik should come down below. And not just anywhere below, but so low that it should be able to be in contact and refine the sparks. That's the Sitra Achra. How is that possible? What's going to push Atik out of its, if you will, comfort zone to reach that low? It's only through drawing down the essence of the Sof that's even higher than Atik. The Atik mitzadat smayatik on its own mekiven shinyani hushu netakom of the mishtalshlus. Since the idea of Atik is that it's uprooted and separated from mishtalshlus, that is the meaning of the word Atik. Melosh netak. Netak means uprooted and removed. It's impossible for it on its own to come down here below. The truth is, in any level, we need to have a reason that gives that level a reason to come down below. But in Atik, it's even more so. The entire definition of Atik is removed and uplifted and beyond everything. So to come down here below, specifically through the essence of the Ein Sof, that's not defined and categorized and limited by any type of limitations. So high and low, Klippa, Kedusha, all these distinctions don't play a role as far as Atzmus is concerned. So when Atzmus comes to bear on Atik, it can bring it down to the lowest place. Now we can understand how the bracha of Yitzchak is even greater than even the bracha that Hashem gave Yitzchak on the passing of Avram. Valpizi Yuvan ha'ili v'achidush the berachas Yitzchak v'yitin l'cha elekim v'goyim havay varach elekim as Yitzchak ki abracha the v'yitin l'cha elekim hishatiyam shachal amata l'varis netzoyz shebe'esav. This bracha that Elekim will give to you is that the Amshacha coming down here below to refine the sparks in Esav. Now again, regardless of Yitzchak thinking he was going to do it directly, but it was still, that was the purpose of the bracha, and that purpose got fulfilled. Divri tzadikim achayim akiyam la'ad, and this bracha would empower Yaakov, so Yaakov would eventually be able to be Mvar Eitzav by the power of Atik that was there. And that capability had to come not just from Atik alone, but this Amshacha comes from the very essence of the Ein Sof, like we said before. When it says that Hashem benched Yitzchak after the passing, it only says Vayvorach Elokim. When it says the bracha of Yitzchak to Yaakov says Ha Elekim, the Elekim. Hey Ayidiyah means the definitive article, meaning you're talking about a specific level of Elekim. What level are you talking about? Elakim is in general associated with concealment, but it's talking about the concealment. Which level concealment? The ultimate concealment. The concealment of Hashem's essence, B'chinas Hel, Ma'atzmi de Ein Sof, the essential essence, the essential concealment of the Ein Sof, Shemishamu Koach HaBirurim, that from there is the power that which comes, that the Atik should be able to come down and refine the sparks. Second paragraph in Ois Vav, Zehum Madi Isa Medrash, Metala Shomayim Zu Mikra, Mishmani Or Zu Mishnah, Dogins a Talmud Cholu. This is what's brought down the Medrash, identifying these different parts of the bracha that Yitzchak gave with Torah Shebeksav and Mishnayis and Torah Shebapeh. Grain is going on Torah Shebapeh. But moving. What's going on over here? Yaakov needed to have a bracha about Torah. Even if Yitzchak wouldn't have benched Yaakov, the Torah would have been given to the Yidden. The entire purpose of the creation was so that Yidden should accept the Torah. We know that Hashem took a condition with the creation that the world will only go on if the Yidden will accept the Torah. So therefore, Torah was an intricate part of creation and would have happened regardless if Yitzchak would have benched Yaakov or would have benched with Mikra and Mishnah and Talmud and so on. What does it mean that he blessed Yaakov Avinu with Torah? That's known the explanation about this. The Birchas Yitzchak Hoysal Inyan Hayigir b'Torah. The bracha of Yitzchak was for putting in effort in Torah. Through effort and toil in Torah, one reaches a level that's higher than Torah on its own. The Torah on its own comes from the level of Chachma Ilah, Chachma Datzilus. That's what would have been without the bracha of Yitzchak. And even higher, if you want, it's the Chachma and Keser, Chachma and Arachampin. But Vayidei Hayigia b'Torah, through toiling in Torah, I believe we had this in a Maimer not too long ago, Yigia b'derech Chayzer, a Yigia which involves a rebounding light, that light which results from questions and difficulties and so on, which is why we have to toil, because all the questions and so on. Magim lahelam ha'atzmi, the Torah, we reach the essential concealment that we were speaking about before, that to be able to cause the atik to come down, you need to have the helam ha'atzmi, ha'alikim. In this case, it's the helam ha'atzmi, the way it's connected with Torah, which is the level of Ein Leiros Elikim Zolosecha. This is something that no one but Elikim, again, Shem Elikim, has seen. Now the Rebbe is going to add another final nuance to this, Oizayin. If we could add the Mekivin Shabbat Sitra Achra B'Mispar Yud Aleph, since in Sitra Achra we said it's the number 11. That even the transcendent level is included in the count. Why is it included? Because not like in Kedusha where the Makif is not necessary for the Chayis, in Klippa it's crucial, it's vital, it's what makes it live. The Rebbe says an amazing chiddush, that this fact that Kedusha is different, that the Makif remains removed, and therefore it's not counted, when we are Mavarer Klippa, which is, the Makif is part of it, we cause in Kedusha shagam bechinas atik shviloi bechuzn asfiris nimshechas b'asfiris b'pnimiuson. That very atik should come down to 10 spheres b'pnimius. And the Rebbe says this is even greater than what we said before. We needed atzmas to cause atik to come all the way down to refine the sparks. But over here it's an even greater thing. Atik, which is essentially transcendent, should become joined with the spheres in an internalized fashion. It's completely against what Atik is about, and that's even a greater chiddush. Atik coming down here below is not that it's actually becoming united with the below, it's only an empowerment. But when because we are refining, so we are causing Atik to be joined with the Esespheres and the Pnimius, it's not just an empowerment, it's not just a capability, it's an actual union. This is understood. The drawing down of Atik into the 10 spheres internalized. That occurs through the service of refining the sparks. This causes a revelation of Hashem's essence even more so, because you see even more that nature of Hashem is completely undefined and unlimited by any type of categorization. The Chazal say, Rashi brings it down. Why does it say, and he will give you? Yitin v'yachzor v'yitin. I'm sorry, it's not Rashi. The Chazal say, why does it say, and he will give to you? He will give, and he will give again. What's the double giving? The first giving is what we said before, that Atzmus has to come down, so to push Atik to be Mavar Berudim. Then the fact that he will give again, that's a further thing, that we have the essential concealedness that comes about through the avodas haberurim, that the Atik comes down in the pnimius of the Esespheres. Through Alakim giving you, drawing down of the essential concealment in the above two mentioned ways, he will give and give again. Both come down, both meanings. Both the Torah comes down and the literal meaning of dew. The Taloi Metzah, as we know, that dew is never ceases, not like rain that could cease because of our misbehaving. Especially that there's no even consideration, havamina, that Hashem will withhold dew. And so too the fats of the lands and much grain and wine in the literal sense, and the ultimate breath, until the building of the third base of Mikdash. Yaakov referred to the base of Mikdash as a home. From there light goes out to the entire world. We make the entire world a home for the Eibishter.